Once you lose your ability to get up and down off of the ground without putting your hands down, you are officially getting old and your athletic performance is going down. Getting up off of the ground is an essential human skill and you should be very good at it. Most people in the modern world are not good at it, but you can break any get up down into small pieces and build it one step at a time. Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we're going to talk about a heavy club exercise. This exercise is a sit-up into a leg thread into a hip snap. Most people lose an ability to get up off of the ground over time. You learn it when you're very young. When you learn to walk, you start by crawling, you figure out how to get to a rock bottom squat position, you stand up, you fall down, you learn to get back up. As we live in the modern world, we sit down in chairs all the time. People lose an essential human movement pattern, which is getting up off of the ground. You should practice it in a bunch of ways. You should practice useful, non-weighted movement patterns. Think Krav Get-Ups, which are self-defense movement pattern get-ups. You should practice things like burpees. You should practice kettlebell Turkish get-ups. And the thing that people don't practice much is a loaded, no hand down get-up. This exercise takes several exercises and stacks them together. We are going to start with a flat back pullover. 2 hands on the club, 1 palm faces away from you, the other hand turns into a tiger claw to hold it from the side. This keeps you from dropping the weight on your face. Your hands should be shoulder width apart or slightly outside so that you can focus on driving your elbows in. Get down. We're practicing not slamming our skull into the ground, so we are not going to let go of our abs at the bottom. Club goes behind you. Think about squeezing those elbows together to activate the lats, squeeze the glutes, pull over. From here, we're going to sit up. Extend the spine. We're gonna pick one leg, we're gonna thread it underneath. This is a hip mobility drill for most people, and we are gonna practice both sides alternating so that we can check that our body is working equally well on both sides. From here, hip heist. Drive up, pivot, point your leg forward. To get down, pivot the leg, sit all the way down, leg out, get down. Do not slam your skull into the ground. Do not let go of your core. Pull over, think elbows tight together. Pull over, sit up, extend the spine, thread the other leg, hip heist up, rotate the rear leg. Get it in, get down, pause. Don't drop the weight on your face. Pull over, thread, drive. Get down. Pull over, leg thread, drive. Get down. If you're like me and you have a lot of very serious knee injuries, this is a knee stretch, a loaded knee stretch that you need to do every day. When we're doing this leg thread, the top of our foot is on the ground. This drive across is fairly difficult for most people. You'll notice one of my legs doesn't bend the same because it's been sewn together with dead people parts. We call it my zombie knee, and it drives forward. So one side for me is harder than the other side. Hip straight ahead. The hip pivots. For most people, that's hard, especially if they have an office job. Sit all the way down. This foot will move in and out to get to the correct position. Reset. When we go down, the thing that most people will do is they will let go of their abs and their head will touch the ground. We are practicing not letting our core go because we're practicing for falling down and not slamming our skull into the ground. Falling is a danger, especially if you do hardcore sports. If you ride a horse, you're 6 feet off the ground. If you get thrown off, we want your core to engage to keep you from snapping your neck, getting whiplash, or slamming your skull into the ground. Same thing is true if you ride dirt bikes. You tend to come off at speed. We want to learn to engage our core. Same thing is true if you practice martial arts, any type of wrestling or judo, you tend to get thrown. The goal is to never slam your skull into the ground. So this is a useful basic human skill. We're getting up without putting our hands down on the ground at all so that we are forced to move the rest of our body. Other types of get-ups like Turkish get-ups have a hand down on the ground where we're posting off of one hand and moving around that base arm. Excellent drill. That's normally where people start. Think Turkish get-ups use heavier weights. We are going to use a lighter weight, like the club, when we start no-hand get-ups. Normally, men will start this with 15 pounds, and they will build up towards 50 pounds. Doing it with a club in the 80-pound range is pretty crazy because I think that's an 80-pound pullover sit-up to start. Ladies, usually 70% of men's weights, like it is in CrossFit. Eventually, this Get Up series continues, and you can add a bunch of complexity to it. But in the beginning, this hip hinge to hip heist is the hard part. Grab your heavy club all the way down, keep your skull off the ground, engage the lats by squeezing the elbows together. Don't let this go. We don't want to see our rib cage rise up, this distance getting longer because the head goes down. Keep that distance tight as the club moves. You are resisting extension of the spine at the bottom. Resist extension, pull over, extend the spine, leg thread, drive up, pivot the hip forward. In future variations of this, we turn it into get-ups, we add shield casts, we add presses. You are never done working on getting up and down off of the ground. You can take the weight of this exercise up. If it's not hard, get a heavier weight. Eventually, we're looking for the weight of a gear loadout. If you practice something like armored combat, eventually we want you doing the get-ups with something that is the weight of your armor. This is 70 pounds. That becomes a much more intense sit-up experience very quickly. You don't have to work with weights above 50 pounds. Think 50 pounds is a useful weight for all of human history. It's the weight of a bag of grain. Getting into something like monster clubs, getting between 50 and 80 pounds is pretty heavy for a sit-up with a hip heist. You can always take get-ups, break them into small pieces, practice each piece individually, and then add all those movements together. Start with a lightweight, go to a heavyweight. Start with simple complexity, go to high complexity. You're never done. Get-ups twice a week until the day you die.